Hey, Ellen, this is sort of an interim report on where we are, what I've done, how things work, and any concerns will be at the end. So obviously we're using WPL import. We've got, I think it's 8 imports set up, and each import focuses on one of the post types. So you'll notice here there's an order listed with them. They have to be done in that order because some depend on the values previously loaded. So we import the sales centers, and then we have a second sales center import, and then markets, communities, floor plans, available homes. And the reason there's 2 of them is because of the structure of the import file. WPL import is set up to have everything in one record that affects that particular post, let's say. And the feed is set up to have things in multiple records. So that took some creative importing, and that's what these second ones are for. The other thing the second one does is there's a lot of times where there'll be, for instance, a community, and some entries for that community will have a latitude and longitude, and some entries for the same community will not. So this also makes sure that we don't overwrite a valid lat long, for instance, with one that's blank. So it tracks that. It does that for bedrooms and baths on plans and everything like that. So the secondary import for each of the post types is to handle things like that. So that's what the imports all do. Just as a way of a status, we've probably got something north of 1,000 lines of custom code that handle all this. And the vast majority of it was for 2 reasons. One, that things aren't in the same record, and that took a lot of coding to make that happen. And 2, there's a lot of special filters because some of the numbers were coming through with a lot of zeros at the end. They were coming through with null sitting in the field. Sometimes, obviously, there's an input of an address line 1 and line 2, but we're only using a single address or the combination of that. The adjustment of the address names to try to get them to normalize to a single one. I don't know if there's any more, but I've caught the ones I've seen. Same thing for the city names, like with Port St. Lucie. Adjusting series names from HV value to value, removing things from the community names like Classic, Inspire, etc. Converting the words they have in the feed that are all capital letters just to leading caps. Something specific for repeater fields, which are a bit of a task to do. And then another big one is reporting. So I figured that this is going to run on its own, and the more information we and they can get out of it automatically when a feed happens, the better. So I've created a really nice, I think, system of reporting, and what I'm going to do, I'll show it to you here, but then it's set in the back end where we can set who we want these emails to go to. Right now I have them set to only me. So I'm going to turn them on to come to you too. And if you want me to turn them off during the testing, I will. But the next version, when I upload today's file, will send you these things. And it sends out an email anytime it finds an issue. So this is obviously communities, floor plans, available homes. It didn't find any issues when importing, for instance, sales centers. And it lists which issue, which in this case community it is, and then what the issue is, an empty sales center field. So you can see down the list for the communities it's only sales center fields. For floor plans, it'll show whether or not the beds, bath, and garage fields are empty, like that. And then for available homes, these are the most complex ones. So for instance, this home didn't have anything in the beds and bath field, but by using the floor plan it was assigned to, we could pick the beds, baths, etc. from that floor plan and populate it anyway. That way, when it's displayed on the front end of the site, it won't be empty, this won't be set to draft, all those things. And then there's a lot of them for the available homes. Sometimes there's an empty price field, whatever. So again, sometimes it's an empty lat long field, and if we do have a valid address for it, which in this case we do, then we use the Google geocode lookup to get the latitude and longitude, and we populate it in here. So I'm going to run the new import. You'll get these emails. You might want to forward them to them. There may be some things about them that are incorrect in determining something's an error when it's really not, or things they would like to see that aren't in the report. So that is that. There's some stuff in Slack for you also to take a look at if you haven't yet. The one issue that is still remaining is, for instance, here using Ocala as an example, Ocala has 2 different sales centers. And right now all we have in the system is 2 different sales centers. Usually these are a matter of which series generated them, but we don't indicate series anywhere in anything we upload for communities. So really this might be, an Inspire sales center or whatever it might be, but we don't indicate that. So we just show that this particular community has 2 sales centers at different addresses. But then we also are using an address for the community separate from the address for the sales center. But in some cases, there'll be multiple addresses entered for the same community, as in this case. There was an address, this address field is the sales center address field. So there may be cases when there's a sales center address field for each of these. Which one do we pick? Because right now we only have a single entry for this. One thought I had was maybe we need 3 entries for the community street address for each of the 3 different types of series we're importing. And sometimes also there's a case when there is no sales center assigned, but there is something in the address fields that we can use for an address. But again, there may be multiple ones of the address for a community, even though there's no sales center. I hope all that made a little bit of sense. So that's the only issue I know of now on what to do with what. And I'll import today's feed and turn on the reports for you. Let me know what you think of them, and I'll get started on that in just a moment.